Today I'm going to show you how to replicate the 3 most trending gated vocal techniques of use right now. Using these tips can really add life to stale vocal lines or give the drop of your song that extra dynamic layer. Let's listen to the vocal techniques in context and then we'll dive straight into it. So up first, I have this kind of Sunny Fedora example. We're also getting a lot of this technique through TikTok as well with the likes of Kenya Grace. This technique works best when you're using a legato vowel sound like an oo or an ah, but it's also super effective when used on a reverb tail. You'll want to use an auto pan or a tremolo followed by a reverb, perhaps some saturation, and probably an EQ. If you're in Ableton, chances are you'll be using the auto pan, so set the amount to 100%, the rate to 8th or 16th notes, and offset the phase to 360 if you want a mono signal rather than a panning signal. Or to make that auto pan in at the end of your verse and increase that saturated to its fullest for the drop. Alright, this one is mad, and it took a little finessing, but really works in the UK garage tech house space. A great song to reference for this type of vocal technique would be Get Stupid by Joshua. This is going to work best with a fast vocal, so think UK MC vibe, which is what I've gone for, or that kind of Memphis rap vocal, for example. Made a right on Hollywood, man. Just bought a sack from the Chris, it's all good, man. I found arranging the vocal into chops first is going to help conceptualize what you're working towards, but it's not an absolute necessary step. Ensure the vocal is heavily quantized to the 16th note grid, and then throw it into a sampler. Don't you know we're coming in with the floor. Inside the sampler, you're going to get that bounce staccato sound by setting the warp mode to beats and preserving the transients. Choose the forward mode and then pull the envelope back to around 0 or just above. I added some EQ and reverb, but dial this into taste. Once you have a general idea of the chop, freeze and flatten that to your grid. We'll add OTT to make it pop a little bit more, roll off the lows with the EQ, add some reverb, and then after that, any effects that you think complement your vocal. I've added phaser, delay, and spectral time. These effects aren't going to be used all the time, they're going to be automated on and then off. Now, a bit of a weird technique, but preserve those transients once again, and then have fun choosing how to modulate those vocals to keep them sounding fresh, fun, and bouncy. Now, just before we get to our final technique, which is inspired by the likes of Fred Again and Bicep, I want to quickly tell you about our sponsor, DistroKid. They make things so convenient, they even have an app. I check my stats and money earned there, but if your collaborator has texted you that fresh mix of your new song, you can even upload the track straight from your phone. They really do make uploading and hosting your music so stress-free, and it's why I continue to use them. If you want 7% off your first year and to support the show at no extra cost, use the link in the description below. Now, let's get back to this final technique. Okay, so Fred Again, Bicep, over mono, love this technique. Let me show it off. Covered this one almost identically in my top 5 vocal techniques episode last year. Do check that out if you want to see more. With this type of strategy, you want to start by finding maybe 2 vocals that complement each other. This is going to add depth and dynamic to the vocal itself in a more three-dimensional way, rather than the more mono sound that we've heard so far in the two examples previously. From here, you're going to chop them up, normally on the bar line or quantized to the grid, but essentially so they evolve with each chord change. Again, not a necessary step, but I took a moment to write a chord progression underneath those vocals and spent some time picking a nice synth preset that would once again add a new timbre to my sound. From here, you can group these three instruments and add a gate, reverb, and EQ to the chain. We're almost at the last step, but you're going to need a trigger. This can be a synthesized sound, something that's already present in your mix, or just an audio sample with a loud transient. I've chosen to do the latter and used a kick drum which I've arranged into a rhythm. And that rhythm is the most important step. It's going to give your vocal that final bounce. Tie your noise gate to the chosen sound using sidechain and selecting audio from and then the title of your chosen instrument or audio. And then decrease your threshold. Dialing in the attack and release will give a more sustained sound or staccato chop. So there we have it, guys. What did you think of this episode and what do you want to see in future? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you as always for swinging by, and I'll catch you next time.